Disclaimer: the following video that you're about to view only contains audio only, as it's from a wrestling internet radio show. If you are looking for wrestling video footage, you will not find that on this video. This wrestling radio show may contain strong language that may be offensive to those under the age of 18. If you are under the age of 18, please get permission to listen to this episode. Enjoy, comment, and subscribe.
Coming up next, it's the weekend edition of the RCWR show. Hook you guys up with the very latest and what all you might have missed from this past week's WWE Raw main event, Smackdown, and the very latest from TNA Wrestling, as it was Championship Thursday, plus the very latest in wrestling-related news and beyond. We have some kick-ass reviews for you guys for the new Devil May Cry demo and Steven Adler's new album, Back from the Dead. It's the RCWR Show Weekend Edition, and folks, it begins right now.
Hold one, arm drag. Whoa! This is
Brett screwed Brett. Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional. Brett screwed Brett.
hold two, arm bar.
Hey, get a nice shot of the brand new Mr. and Mrs. Hunter Thirst Helmsley.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate your hat. I hate your t-shirts. I hate your wristbands. I hate your shoes. I hate your music. I hate the C-Nation. I hate everything that you stand for.
So does Rule. Yeah, they do.
Hold three, the moss-covered, three-handle family gradunzo.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
And welcome, everybody, to the weekend edition of the RCWR Show. Black Avenger, as always, Lee Sanders coming at you live right now on December 1st, 2012. This is it, and I don't mean in the Huey Lewis in the news type of way, but this is it. It's the final month of December. 2013 is right around the corner. Hopefully you guys have begun your Christmas shopping. You're ready to bring in the new year. Not too early to go on ahead and talk about your New Year's resolutions, as I know quite a few of you have already gotten a head start on that, whether it's be to get back in shape or cut back on some stuff, new goals. Hey, it's never too early to get started on it. Welcome to checking out to today's show. Of course, always, we got the chat room loaded up right now. Feel free to jump on in there. It's at blogtalkradio.com. You know, you can also interact with us during the course of today's show by hitting us up on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. While you're at it, take the time out, interact with us on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. Add us as a friend. Like the page. We always post some pretty cool content up on there. As we had announced on Impact Showdown Radio this past Thursday night, the future of whenever we do our weekend editions of the RCWR show, we're just going to be covering all the great content that you guys have come to love and you guys have come to check out regularly. We're not going to be opening up the phone lines anymore. There's just so much great content that we have to cover, trying to squeeze in those phone calls at the last minute. A lot of times the show ends up in overtime, and that's really not fair to those of you that's listening live that might not be able to check out whenever we do overtime episodes. So just to make it neutral for everybody's downloading, listening pleasure, we just decided we're not going to do the phone calls, have them come in anymore, but you can still interact with us in the chat room. Now, that's just for the Saturday shows. You'll still be able to interact with us. You'll still be able to call the phone lines on Tuesdays and Thursdays for those respective shows. But when it comes to the Saturday shows, so much content, we got to cover it. Without any further ado, on that note, let's go on ahead and let's jump right into it, shall we? So, let's talk about WWE Raw from this past Monday night, where one of the key pinpoints from that episode was The Shield finally breaking their silence, and they gave an exclusive interview to Michael Cole letting Cole know, for the record, that they are not working for the WWE champion, CM Punk. But then the question is asked, well, just what exactly are you doing here in the WWE then? What do you got to gain from all this? And Dean Ambrose, being that heartbeat, being that mouthpiece for the group, he reveals that what the Shield is about, first off, they are not mercenaries, they are not renegades, they basically represent the injustice that is happening in WWE, and that they are all about principles, and that they are about honor, and that wherever they feel they need to step in, they will do so. And as Trey pointed out in the chat room here, he said the Shield debuting equals epic. That's been a lot of the buzz that has just been generated from seeing these guys pop up. They've really been making their mark. And I really loved how this interview piece came about. I mean, it was like lightning fast when you saw these guys give their interview to Michael Cole on Raw. It was like within minutes that we see WWE Fan Nation, of course, the official WWE YouTube channel, they immediately had uploaded that interview piece, and it was just getting a lot of views everywhere. I mean, that was just really a great interview that they gave. So now you know what the Shield is about. And you take what they had said, you're keeping in mind, okay, well, they don't work for the WWE Champion, CM Punk, but you can't help but wonder even more just what exactly is their connection with the WWE Champion, because once again, we see them get involved in CM Punk's business, if you will. In the main event match, we saw him take on Kane. Now, somehow, CM Punk was able to get a victory over Kane, but let's talk about what happened in those final few moments after the match. We see the Shield surrounding the ring. They look as if they're about to get a jump on CM Punk. CM Punk, he's just waiting for it. Instead, that's not even what happens. We see all three of these guys from Shield attack Kane, beat him down really good. We see Kane's tag partner in Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan Danielson, come on down to the ring, tries to help, but he gets a beat down as well. CM Punk is loving what he's seeing. Ryback, Mr. Feed Me More, he's coming on now. He's trying to get him a little bit of retribution. He's got all four guys exactly where he wants them in that ring. He's trying to go get him some. CM Punk, he briefly is out of the picture. We see Ryback have a great outing with all three guys of the Shield. I love those clotheslines, power bombs he was delivering to all those guys left and right. Saw the WWE Champion try to jump Ryback from behind. Didn't really do that much. Ryback getting ready to deliver a power bomb to Punk. Went out of nowhere. Romain Reigns hits Ryback with that spear. Shield once again playing that numbers game. It's just too much for Ryback. They're having their way with him. They lay him out just like they did at the Survivor Series pay-per-view, just like they did on Raw last week. Third time's a charm now. 3 consecutive weeks, we see Ryback get laid out by the Shield. Who benefits from it? Once again, 1, 2, 3. Say it all together, everybody. CM Punk. But on an interesting note, we now know that one of the main event matches for the TLC pay-per-view, coming in just less than 3 weeks, is going to be CM Punk versus Ryback for the WWE Championship in a tables, ladders, chairs gimmick match. And you're just hearing all this, you're seeing everything that's happening, you're wondering what could possibly be the end result of this. And you know, it brings up a very interesting question. As WWE Creative, we now have heard that buzz. They really are not liking putting Ryback in this position where, once again, he is going to be taking on CM Punk for the WWE Championship. And once again, Ryback is going to be losing. Now, I know some people, they may sit up and they are just holding on to this little thing called hope that maybe Ryback can pull some type of an upset and he can retain, or he can somehow win the WWE Championship from CM Punk. And, folks, unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. I don't know why you guys are even entertaining that thought, but just get that out your ears right now. Would it be a good, nice curveball? Yes, it really would. But honestly, it's just not going to happen. So deal with it already. Your Royal Rumble main event is going to be Punk versus Rock. But we're talking about what's going to be happening at TLC here and the problem that WWE Creative is having right now. This will mark the third consecutive pay-per-view where Ryback is involved in the title picture, and once again, Ryback is going to be put in a situation where he's going to have to lose. WWE Creative, they're trying to figure out a way to possibly have this match in a way where Ryback could once again look strong. Well, I mean, look, it doesn't take a genius to figure out the right way you need to have this match in properly at TLC. And you know, I'm one of those guys. It's very rare I read the dirt sheets. I read what other people are saying because I just have that writing background of my own, that booking background of my own. Look, you got a gimmick match. That's number one, okay? So you're kind of protecting Ryback here. You're not really putting him in a situation where he has to show off pure wrestling ability because it's not a singles match. It's a gimmick match. Okay, so nice little sweet spots you can have in this contest is what I'm saying. There's no way you can get a disqualification in this type of match. Name of the game, climb up the ladder, grab the WWE title. You win, okay? So I think you see where I'm going with this. Since the Shield loves to pop up and interfere in Ryback's business, makes sense to have the Shield do it again at TLC. Ryback could finally get somewhat of retribution, lay out these guys one by one, or maybe they could be ganging up on him while CM Punk climbs up to the ladder, grabs his WWE title. Once again, you have the question raised. Everybody's mad. The eyebrows are raised. They're wondering what the hell is going on with CM Punk and what's going on with the Shield. Are they working together? What exactly is going on here? So I think you create that, you make that happen, and honestly, that sets up one hell of a great kickoff for January 2013 when CM Punk collides with The Rock. But folks, that's Royal Rumble, and I'm just going to tease you with that for now because I'm not even done talking about how this end result needs to go down. But rest assured, I'm not done talking about the Shield. I will be bringing them up again, and quite honestly, if this continues to play out that the way it's looking right now, folks, we could see the Shield actually do some stuff with The Rock, and that honestly would be a really great rub-off. I think you guys see the direction I'm going right here, but we'll talk more about that, particularly after TLC is over. But, yeah, there you have it right there. Question is raised once again, what's happening? Of course, you saw Kane, Daniel Bryan, they get jumped. You now have them put in a situation where they could possibly want to try to call out members of the Shield to face in some type of a tag match. And we're not done talking about Team Hell No, by the way, because on Smackdown, they were still pretty peeved off from that beatdown that they had took from those guys. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But I love this latest development that's been playing out with the Shield. Of course, we have some people that want to sit up and complain. They want to say, we've seen this already. This is the Nexus. This is Aces and Eights. This isn't anything new. And we said it last weekend. I can't stress it enough. Aces and Eights, they are not, because Aces and Eights is a biker gang group that consists of, it seems like 7 to 10 guys, whereas you have the Shield, it's just 3 guys that are not wearing masks. Now, we can kind of agree there are some similarities between the way the Shield and Nexus came about, the way they made their debuts. They did interfere in a match. Yeah, we see that. We get that. Okay, I'll give you guys that. But, I think this has one of the greatest potentials to be even better than the Nexus stable, okay, or the new Nexus. I think it has those ingredients to be better. Right now, I think we're just overanalyzing. Some of you are. I think you're all just overanalyzing what's happening with the Shield right now. Just kick back, marinate. Don't overanalyze this stuff. Just wait it out. See what really comes about this. Wait about at least almost 2 months. Then you can kind of sit up and say, okay, look, they've been giving us this for 2 months now. Now we can make an assessment. But it's still pretty early, folks. Just kick back, enjoy the ride for what it's worth. If you are an internet darling and you've been following the career paths of Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, then really you're like in euphoria right now. You're probably like that little 5-year-old kid that's opening up its Christmas presents on Christmas Day, and you got exactly what you've been wanting all year round. You finally get it. This is probably a nice gift for you guys, but I love the fact that they are acknowledging that these guys are from the NXT development and that these guys are just the way they're just handling themselves. I mean, it's freaking on point because, see, now you're putting a spotlight on the NXT developmental program, which is really good because now more people are going to be inclined to want to check out NXT. They want to try to see if they can catch it online. They want to try to see if maybe they might be able to watch it on YouTube. So, I mean, it creates really great buzz. It now has that wrestling fan that usually doesn't invest in that type of programming. It now makes them feel like they need to check it out to see exactly what's happening in that territory because they know at some point some wrestlers that are on there are going to be popping up on main WWE programming. So I love what's happening right here, and going into 2013, really nice bright spots right here with what's happening with the Shield, NXT. Love all that. Of course, one of the other main points that we had saw from WWE Raw this past Monday night was the continuation of the AJ scandal, where a new development came about as Vicky Guerrero, once again, she's poking fun at John Cena and AJ Lee, feeling as though all this time they really were in a relationship. They proved her right, and we see Dolph Ziggler, he gets involved into this whole thing, and his message to Cena was, hey, I know what you were really thinking as you were kissing AJ, which is AJ was really thinking about me and how much of a better kisser I am, some bull crap like that. But, it goes back to what we were saying early on, and folks weren't able to connect the dots weeks back. Folks still are not quite sure what to make of Dolph Ziggler's involvement with AJ and all of this, but it is really looking as though Dolph Ziggler, AJ Lee, they had some type of a relationship maybe going on, and AJ Lee decided it was something that she didn't want to pursue any longer, and she just started giving Ziggler the cold shoulder, or maybe Ziggler tried to tap that and she turned him down. You got one of those two cases. I'm leaning more towards the first one that I said, option one. And that's really how it's starting to look. But I just love the chemistry that Ziggler has been having with Cena, just minus the whole Jerry Springer, Maury, Steve Wilkos drama. I just love what's happening between these two guys when it's all said and done. And, we had saw them actually in a phenomenal match on Raw, Cena versus Ziggler. Great contest right there. Cena, of course, getting the victory over Dolph Ziggler, and Cena needed that win going into main event as he had to take on Damian Sandow. We'll talk about that match in just a little bit. But great contest between these two guys. WWE brass, hey, really trying to get behind Dolph Ziggler, really trying to get him ready. Sooner or later, you know he's going to become a world heavyweight champion. What better way to get to that finish line than by working with one of the guys that's been a champion 10 times in the WWE? And it's so funny because the guy has been champion, John Cena that is, he's been champion 10 times, and he's been in WWE for 10 years. So technically he's been a champion once a year. Nice little ring to it when you think about it. Some would say, 10 times a loser. But, hey, 10 WWE titles and been in the company for 10 years, that's pretty impressive, I think. But Dolph Ziggler getting ready, I'm loving that. For full coverage of what all you might have missed from WWE Raw this past Monday night, we always do the RCWR show, Tuesday Night Wrestling Report. Check that out. It airs Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern right here on Blog Talk Radio. One of the things, and I want to bring this up, we know that Vince McMahon, he unfortunately was not at the WWE Raw tapings from this past Monday. He also didn't catch the Smackdown tapings as well, as he had just got done wrapping up the 10th anniversary episode of WWE Saluting the Troops. So nice that he was way over there. So Triple H, he had the whole thing on lockdown. He was doing everything. And once again, we continue to hear great things about Triple H whenever he is put in charge of WWE Raw, SmackDown, whenever he is the one that has to run with that company ball and make sure everything is running smoothly. Once again, we hear that Triple H, everybody loves him. It is a very relaxing atmosphere. It's not as tensed. Everybody is just allowed to do their job. Nobody's being yelled at. Nobody's being bashed over the microphone headset. It's just running very smoothly. And, quite honestly, I love that. Honestly, I know some people, those hardcore wrestling fans out there, they just hate Triple H with a passion, and they're probably never going to get over the fact that Triple H became a McMahon. Some may feel that he went about it the wrong way, that he really doesn't love Stephanie. And that's a whole different other topic for a whole different other time. But the point is, we got those fans that are out there that just passionately hate Triple H like they hate John Cena. But when you just put all that to the side, Triple H has just been doing a phenomenal job. Every time we hear that he's been taking over the reins of Raw, SmackDown, the live events, he always runs things very smoothly. And, I just like the signs that I'm getting from when Triple H does take things over on a permanent basis. It really looks like it's going to go in really great hands. I mean, honestly, folks, I'll be straight up honest with you. If you ask me if there is any flaw that could possibly make the show struggle in any type of way, I would honestly say it would have to do with Stephanie McMahon. That's what I think it would all boil down to. As we know, she's just like her dad, and there's been many writers, we've heard the stories, writers that have gotten into it over Stephanie, and once you are on her crap list, that is it. You are a marked person. But Triple H, totally different atmosphere. Could you just imagine how the WWE would be running right now if it was Triple H, Shane McMahon? That would just really be on point right there. Now, of course, all the good things that I just said about Raw, unfortunately, we got to talk about those ratings there. And I know some folks are like, ratings, very important, though. I mean, we need to talk about the ratings because, this is probably one of those times right now where Vince McMahon is probably looking at the ratings for this past Monday night's Raw, and he's probably not too pleased with what he had saw, as once again, folks, for the 15th consecutive week now, we have seen the WWE Raw ratings take a decline from the second hour going into the third hour. I mean, it dropped significantly going into the third hour. And, you're just scratching your heads, and you're like, well, what's going on? Well, some people, they sit up and say, well, 3 hours is a bit too much for wrestling. Well, that same argument could be made for a football game. Your average football game is about, 3, sometimes 4 hours if it ends up going into overtime. Your average basketball game, it goes about 3 hours. The same argument could be kind of said for those respected type of sports. I don't really think it is about how long the episode is. I think it boils down to the content and just being able to continue to keep the viewer's attention and where you are placing key spots. Honestly, I would have taken that Shield interview and I just would have teased the hell out of fans. I would have maybe had that kick off the beginning of the third hour, quite honestly. And maybe it's something that WWE needs to, think about a little bit more is where are they doing key spots? And, it also wouldn't hurt to maybe bring in a 5-star quality type of match. Take what they've been learning from WWE Main Event, which has just really been a great series so far. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But, look at these ratings right here. This past Monday night for Raw, it got a 2.72 rating with 3.92 million viewers. Now, we got, as always, the monthly recap for you guys. Let's pick up for the whole month of November. Let's pick it up with November 5th. Now, that respected episode, that had got a 2.76 rating. For you guys that need a little memory jog, that was the episode where Brad Maddox had explained why he attacked Ryback at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Now, let's go to November 12th. That episode has scored a 2.94 rating. That was the episode where Jerry Lawler made his return after suffering from a heart attack, but it was also the same episode where his heart attack was mocked. We have the November 19th episode, which had scored a 2.72 rating, and of course, this past Monday night did a 2.72 rating as well. Mirror image right here. However, as far as the viewership goes, that's where this respected episode beat the previous week, and it beat it by just a handful. But, you hear those numbers, and you're kind of like, what's going on here? Funny, isn't it? Because we have the Shield, and despite this new introduction into a new stable, the ratings have been kind of at a little bit of a stalemate. Really hasn't gone up. You're kind of like, what's going on right here? And as I said, for me, from what I'm noticing as of late, one of the things that could be said is the way that they're placing key parts of the show. One of the things that's alienating the fans is seeing the AJ scandal. Maybe they could kind of do a little bit without that. Maybe they could kind of go back towards more wrestling-related storylines instead of pulling these silly little daytime baby mama drama type of angles. Just let it be about wrestling. That's one of the problems right there. One of the other things, we have that hardcore wrestling fan base. The argument is always being said, well, Vince McMahon, maybe he's lost his touch. Maybe it's time for him to go kick back and go chill on a beach somewhere. Honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with Vince McMahon. I think what this really boils down to is a domino effect, folks. It has to do with the type of writers that they have on the shows, but in particular, it has to do with the way the execution is being done, in particular, for Raw. Let's all be in agreement and I think we all can be in agreement. When it comes to main event, when it comes to Smackdown, those are better executed shows. For whatever reason, those shows are properly, betterly executed. For some reason with Raw, come on, guys, especially those of you that read the dirt sheets, you like reading spoiler alerts and all that. Come on, let's be for real. How many times do you recall hearing how Raw has been rewritten so many times? I can remember one week where Raw was rewritten on a Monday at least 5 to 6 times right on up until it was getting ready to go on the air. First off, that's one of the major problems right there. And unfortunately, with Vince McMahon being at the helm of that respected show, that's his baby, one of the things that he's going to need to start doing is kind of loosening up the grips a little bit and let the writers do their thing. The second thing that Vince is going to need to start doing, we hear some of these backgrounds that some of these writers have. They unfortunately do not know anything about wrestling, and you can kind of tell that half the time. Maybe it's time to actually bring in some writers that actually know their wrestling, they know their stuff, and first and foremost, they care about the product and they do care about the wrestlers. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with writers that have been very successful on popular TV shows or writers that have been very successful on daytime soap operas. There's nothing wrong with that. But, they need to understand that, yes, these might be characters, but you also have to remember that, first and foremost, these are wrestlers. Even if you're calling them superstars, what they're doing in the ring isn't making pizza, okay? They're wrestling. So you kind of have to take both of those two into great consideration. But, there's also a third thing that goes into that, which is the type of people that Vince McMahon is surrounded by. And he's been surrounded by some people that have been with him for quite a good number of years. And as Triple H gets more and more power, Triple H is trying to bring in the people that he wants to be working up under him. Now, in case you might have missed this headline, it's looking as though John Laurinaitis is possibly on his way out of WWE completely. Originally, it was said that he was going to be coming back to some extent on WWE programming, but now it looks like that is not going to be happening. Originally, it was said that he was just going to be sticking to live events when they go on tour or whatever. Slowly, that started dying down. Now, that's not even happening anymore. So it's really looking more and more like John Laurinaitis is being phased out. So, it's really looking like there's going to be a new changing of the guard. It's going at a slow pace in a way that's making everybody feel comfortable. And though we might not like the rate that it's going, at least it's happening. And, you can't please everybody, because the argument that was said earlier this year, late last year, WWE, when are we going to get some new stars? When are we going to see some new faces? When are we going to see some new rivalries, new angles? And, unfortunately, this is the case right here where you can't please everybody, as, to a certain extent, everybody has gotten everything that they wanted, even the internet darlings, now that they're getting the stable known as The Shield. You got CM Punk as champion. You got Ryback that just became an overnight sensation. You got Damian Sandow. You got Dolph Ziggler, who has really been doing some of the best work in his career within the past 2 years. This year alone, looks like he's getting ready to become a world heavyweight champion. Cody Rhodes was on to something there. He's injured right now. But, you got some really nice things that's happening in the WWE right now. All this talk about, is, Vince McMahon lost his touch. Is it time for him to sit down? Yada, 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 yada. What's going on with the product? I think you guys are just overanalyzing stuff just a little bit too much. But, hey, then again, maybe I might not be seeing something that you're seeing. As always, when we have the chat room open or whenever we open up the phone lines, you're more than welcome to bring your argument to the table, because I know there's always two sides to a coin. So that invitation goes out to you all. But that's going to do it for that. All right, we're going to take a very brief commercial break right now, and then when we come right back, I want to talk about what had happened on WWE's main event on the Ion channel. I want to give you my overall takeaway from the great encounter that we saw as John Cena had took on Deadman Sandow. Also give you some insight into what all you might have missed from this past Thursday night's episode of Impact Wrestling, as it was a Championship Thursday edition where the X Division title was on the line. That's right, RVD X Division title on the line. And we'll also hook you up with the very latest in wrestling-related news and more. So we'll take a brief commercial break. We'll come right back, guys, and we'll jump right all into it. So you're checking out the RCWR show, Weekend Edition. We'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the RCWR show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about one or two quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is the app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the RCWR show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the RCWR show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have two cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Black Avenger, Lee Sanders here, welcoming you back to the RCWR Show Weekend Edition. All right, so let's talk about WWE's main event on the Ion channel from this past Wednesday night, where we saw a really great contest between John Cena taking on Deadman Sandow. You know, I really haven't gone on record and really talked about main event. I know I've been covering what all had happened on there as the show had came about a couple of months back, but I can't stress it enough. It is one of my favorite highlights in the week. Out of the whole week, I love main event. I love the way it is produced. It's just executed so damn good. I love how every time we see the wrestlers get ready to come out, I love how we get this nice, great video package giving you a in-depth breakdown of what all they're about. Really great for somebody that might be watching it for the very first time. I love it, and I can't stress it enough. It's just one of those type of shows where you can just kick back and you can just not even be concerned with tweeting or chatting it up with people on Facebook. You're just glued to the set and you're checking it out. You're watching the match, beginning to end, not looking away at the TV. That was exactly the case this past Wednesday night on the Ion channel as we saw John Cena take on Damian Sandow. 30-minute contest, folks. Great match. Now, John Cena, he picked up the victory over Sandow, but, the main thing that I was looking for going into this match, as I already knew that was going to happen, my main thing was, okay, now is Damian Sandow's time. And as we said on the weekend edition last week, my whole focal point was going to be on Damian Sandow. This was basically his opportunity to really make an impression on the guys in the back management that he really is deserving of being in the main event picture, that he is deserving of being taken to that next level. And Sandow just really handled himself very well with John Cena, 10-year veteran. I mean, Sandow was wrestling this guy. If you just would have sat me down and just had me watch this for the very first time, and I'm not even knowing anything about what's been happening with Cena past few months or what all's been happening with Damian Sandow, if you just sat me down and you had it on mute and you just tell me to watch the match, the way they were just going back and forth, I'd have swore that these two guys must have been going at it for a couple of months. I mean, that's just how well their in-ring chemistry was together as they were going move for move. And I love how the crowd just really felt invested into this match. As critical points, we saw them exchanging punches to the face, to the body, and it was just going boo, yay. The yays in favor of Cena, boo for Sandow. I was really loving just everything about this match. And Sandow just really proved to me, in my mind, as I knew he would, that he really is deserving and he's ready to be taken to that next level. And quite honestly, I always thought it was so damn weird that Sandow really skyrocketing on the Smackdown brand. Then he just got yanked. He got put on the Raw brand, was kind of made of a exclusive guy over there. And then it just kind of seemed like he got lost in the shuffle over there for a little bit. Then eventually he paired up with Cody Rhodes. I really didn't think that was the road that he needed to be taking. And, it's kind of interesting what's happening now because, you kind of have a scenario here where when Cody Rhodes does return, Damian Sandow could kind of feel as though that's now beneath him, that, he needs to be more focused on his singles career. And you can actually... the door's open. If you kind of are thinking the way I'm thinking, the door's actually open for possibly a Rhodes versus Sandow match. Be kind of nice to see how those two guys would go about. But great match that we had between John Cena, Damian Sandow. Great outing by the young man. He did way too many cartwheels for me, though, in that match. But I love it when he does the cartwheels, but he did way too many in that one on Wednesday night. Of course, we also saw Antonio Cesaro in action as he had defeated Mr. Woo, Zack Ryder. Post-match got very interesting. We see Antonio Cesaro sit up and say that he is one of the greatest champions in WWE of all time, and that actually got a rebuttal from the Intercontinental Champion Kofi Kingston, who told Cesaro that, hey, you're saying you're the best champion? Well, Cesaro, you're wrong. And Kofi Kingston putting the challenge out there that he wants to take on Cesaro on next week's main event. Two unique styles of wrestling. I can't wait to see these two guys go at it. By the way, that uppercut that Antonio Cesaro has in his arsenal, where he just comes out of nowhere with it, especially when he does it to somebody that's coming midair, just devastating the way he delivers those uppercuts. That guy is really coming to his own. He's growing more and more comfortable with his mic ability. I'm loving how he's been slowly morphing. It's really good. He's almost got it down now. He just needs to just continue to stay on it. If you remember, I've never been that critical of Cesaro, just of his mic work, but it seems like he's really trying to work on it, loving how that's all been coming together. All right, let's talk about what is going on with Impact Wrestling, as now we got to switch gears, talk about TNA Impact, as it was a championship Thursday edition where RVD had to put on the line his X Division title, and we saw a series of eliminations. We saw the return of Kenny King, as he was one of the guys that was a runner-up for a title shot for RVD's belt, but he got denied real quickly. Then we ended up seeing a double elimination, something that's never happened before on Championship Thursdays, as we saw the Hulkster eliminate Kid Cash and Zema Ion, and the person to get that spot was none other than Austin Aries. Now, bear in mind, Austin Aries was really coming off like a brat, as we saw him at the beginning of the show, and then we saw him towards the end of the show. He was saying some very, very improperly things about one Brooke Hogan, and I don't even want to sit up and really go there, but poor choice of words that he was using for describing Brooke Hogan. But, you know, it's so funny because many people in the wrestling community, they don't really think too highly of Brooke Hogan. And it's kind of funny because the way they have Austin Aries going about it, he's kind of acting like those fans. I mean, from the sitting up saying, this table is so hard and firm, really uncomfortable. Brooke, I don't see how you were able to do it, just laying on your back while Bully Ray gives it to you. You know, it's really, you go, oh, damn, no, he didn't just go there. But, you know, he went there not once but twice. And, of course, in that match that he had against RVD, he said to RVD at a critical point, a lot of showboating Austin Aries was doing in this match, too. He had RVD right where he wanted him. All he had to do was just go for the pin or do his finisher, and match is over. He becomes the new X Division champion. He instead grabs a microphone, which confuses the referee because the ref's like, what's going on here? And Austin Aries says, you're just laying there. You're out cold, you're hot, you're sweaty, you're just all worked up. Why, you look like Brooke Hogan. And, you know, it was like, oh, no, he didn't just go there again. You know, that was what I was thinking. I'm sure many of you was like, oh, I know he didn't just go there again. And just when it looked as though Austin Aries was about to become the X Division champion for a second time there, we see Bully Ray come on down, and he got into a brawl with Austin Aries. And the Hulkster came out right as Austin Aries was trying to leave the ring, head to the back. Now you see a standoff here between Hulk Hogan, Austin Aries, Bully Ray, but somehow Austin Aries kind of got lost in the eye exchange, at least from a camera perspective, as it ended up being about Hogan, Bully Ray, eyes locked on. Once again, Bully Ray feeling as though Hogan still doesn't trust him. Now, it was announced through Impact Wrestling's website that there is going to be a match at the Final Resolution pay-per-view between Austin Aries and Bully Ray. So it looks like Hulk Hogan is finally starting to give in a little bit to Bully Ray, who, you know, his main message to the Hulkster was, you know, you still don't trust me, you know, what's it going to take? And, you know, we did see a little bit more of an exchange between the Hulkster and Bully Ray from Impact this Thursday night, as Hogan did want answers. He wanted to know exactly what Brooke Hogan was doing with Bully Ray, and obviously he was not pleased to find out that she was in some type of a relationship with him, as he doesn't want her to be in a relationship, let alone with him, but any wrestler for that matter, still trying to protect his daughter. And nice little angle that we see right there. And, you know, I think that is so close to what could really be the case in real life. So really nice that they're kind of playing off of that. You know, but I love the story that's going to be playing out for next week's Impact Wrestling. I'm more interested in that one, as we're going to see Doc from Aces and Eights take on the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. we're going to see Devon take on Samoa Joe for the television title, a title which Devon felt he never lost, and he wants it back. Samoa Joe accepting the challenge. It's on, and of course we got that main event match where it's going to be a six-man tag match as Jeff Hardy teams up with AJ Styles and the Cowboy James Storm to take on Robert Roode, Daniels, and Kazarian. Really going to be a solid contest right there. Of course, for all the very latest on what you might have missed from this past week's episode of Impact Wrestling, I highly encourage you guys to backtrack to this past Thursday night as we had special guest, former TNA gut check contestant Ilya Markopoulos. He gave a really great interview. It's been picking up quite a little bit of buzz in the internet community, especially in the wrestling forums, and you really will appreciate that interview. He gave some really great insight into the whole gut check process. He had some really interesting things to say about Ryback, as it turned out early on, just right before Ryback started really blowing up. He actually had a hand in working with Ryback, and he gave some really great stories about him. Really great, insightful interview. I believe it was a 40-plus minute interview, and really, of all the interviews I've done over the years, all the interviews I've done on this show so far this year, that was hands down one of the best interviews that I've done thus far, and really great eye-opener when you check that out. You'll appreciate it later. Thank me later. It was really great piece, and of course, we do want to extend a big thank you one more time to Ilya Markopoulos for stopping by the show, and no doubt he'll definitely be coming on back again for other events that he has coming up, as he's going to be making his in-ring return this December 22nd. Who knows? Maybe we could have him come on by the show and talk about the match that he's going to be having, as he wasn't quite sure who he was going to be taking on next. All right, let's talk about WWE Smackdown from this past Friday night, where we have got, once again, some really, really solid matches. Now, we were talking about it earlier, which was about Kane, Daniel Bryan, how they got attacked by the Shield, and looks as if they were still reeling from that attack. But on a good note, Kane, Daniel Bryan, Danielson finally on the same page. We saw them in a backstage segment with Kofi Kingston, and Kofi's letting them know they got to get on the same page. They got to work together, as they're going to be taking on the primetime players and Wade Barrett, and Kane saying, hey, look, I got one of the best technical guys in wrestling history, one of the best guys at submissions. We got this. Daniel Bryan giving Kane a compliment. So both of these guys were actually on the same page. And, that was a really great six-man tag that we saw with those guys. We saw Kane, Daniel Bryan, Danielson, Kofi Kingston pick up the victory in that one. Great Khali was briefly in action as he had took on and defeated Great Khali. Weird group that's happening right here between Great Khali and Hornswoggle. You take the tallest guy in WWE and you pair him up with the smallest guy in WWE. That should be one interesting tag team. Yeah, well, that's looking like the route that it's going to be taking. It's one of those things where you kind of look at it and you say, where the hell has Hornswoggle been? Well, Hornswoggle's timing is pretty good since he's getting ready to be the Leprechaun. That's right, they're doing the Leprechaun remake, in case you guys might have missed it. Remember how bad those Leprechaun movies were, especially Leprechaun in the Hood? I finally watched that for the first time a couple of weeks back, and I'm actually very traumatized by it still. That's how fresh it is in my head. I think I saw it like about 3.5 weeks ago. I'm still traumatized from that. Worst Leprechaun movie ever, but WWE is trying to take their crack at it now, and Hornswoggle is going to be the main villain, so to speak. Maybe that's why he's popping up now. Maybe that movie is getting ready to be complete and getting ready to come out directly on DVD. Who knows? But we also got to see, making a rare appearance, John Cena. That's right, the C Nation leader. He stopped on by the Blue Brand. Cena, very busy man this week. And he had some words to say of Dolph Ziggler, but he got interrupted as Alberto Del Rio came out, felt pretty threatened by Cena's appearance, and this basically led to a singles match between John Cena and Alberto Del Rio. Another great match. I mean, this was really a great week for John Cena. I mean, you go to Raw, he took on Dolph Ziggler. You go to Main Event, he took on Damian Sandow. You go to Smackdown, and he was taking on Alberto Del Rio. We had got a pay-per-view quality type of match with John Cena and Alberto Del Rio. You know, it just watching this match, it had me remember that little trio feud that him, Del Rio, Punk was having for that WWE Championship, which, of course, concluded in CM Punk becoming the WWE Champion and going on to have this long, impressive reign that he's been having so far. I mean, it was really nice seeing these two guys lock it up. And you know what? Honestly, it was a nice breather from the Randy Orton, Alberto Del Rio thing, because that was just really, really, I know it was irritating quite a few of you out there. We were hearing the buzz. So really nice break that we got right there. We also had got to see, post-match, though, after Cena picked up the victory, we saw Dolph Ziggler just come out of nowhere, and he attacked John Cena from behind with the Money in the Bank steel briefcase. And, of course, later on in the backstage segment, John Cena bumped into the SmackDown GM, Booker T, and told him how he wanted to get a piece of Ziggler. But Booker T told him straight up, look, dog, I can't have you coming on here messing up my show. Can you dig that, sucker? I mean, that's pretty much what Booker T was saying to John Cena, basically letting him know, look, you can't mess up my main event match. After the match is over, you can do whatever you want to do, but, hey, not during the match. I can't have it. I can't allow it to happen. John Cena, hey, okay, Booker, Lucky, we go back long ways. Okay, we're going to do it by your rules. And that main event match, by the way, with Dolph Ziggler, he actually had took on the Great White Sheamus. Another impressive encounter that we had saw right here between Sheamus and Ziggler. I had a little bit of concern about this match because I'm sitting up and I'm saying to myself, man, Dolph Ziggler versus Sheamus. I'm like, man, Sheamus is a big boy. Can Dolph Ziggler actually hang with Sheamus? And the answer to that was yes. I mean, I can't really remember off the top of my head when was the last time Ziggler did something with Sheamus. I would really have to dig it up in the archives. I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere, but I was just really concerned about this. I felt the match might be a little one-sided, but it wasn't even the case this past Friday night. I mean, these two guys, they were really throwing it down. Now, we did not get a decisive victor in this match because we ended up seeing Big Show get involved, which just basically had the match get thrown out, and it looked like a numbers game was about to be piling up as Big Show and Ziggler, they tried to get the gang up on Sheamus, but then we see John Cena come on out to help even the odds. So, this could possibly set the tone for an episode of Raw this coming Monday or the next Friday night SmackDown. Don't be too surprised, as it's already been put out there. We could see a tag match between John Cena, Sheamus taking on Big Show and Dolph Ziggler. And you know what? I am all for that. We also had got to see Damian Sandow in action as he had defeated Tyson Kidd. That was a pretty funny moment right there because Damian Sandow trying something very new. He is now doing this apprentice program where basically he asks 3 questions, and if the person gets it right, they will become his apprentice. Now, his first subject answered 2 of the 3 questions right. I believe the first question was, when does the electoral elections happen, and the guy was like, oh, every 4 years. And Sandow was like, okay, yeah, that's correct. And I forgot the second question he asked him, but the third question, it had to do with the orbital system, and he was asking the guy for the exact number, and the guy said, I don't know, and Damien Sandow just put out this ridiculous number, called him an idiot, and told him to get out of his ring. It was some really hilarious stuff right there. Nice to see Damien Sandow doing a little something new here. Nice to, have a little something to look forward to on a weekly basis, kind of keep him relevant there, while at the same time he's beating people's butts. I'm down with that. Of course, we also saw the three-man band briefly in action. They had took on the Usos, and that pretty much did it for Smackdown for Friday night. Once again, though, another solid contest. Another well-produced episode of Smackdown. You can't really go wrong with the Blue brand. But, of course, we got to talk about something that we had mentioned on the last weekend edition, which was, what did I say to you guys? Remember, if you were listening, what did I say last Saturday? I said, don't be too surprised if you don't see Caitlyn pop up on next week's batch worth of WWE episodes. And what happens, folks? If you've been listening thus far, we only had pretty much one Divas match that came from WWE this week. It was on Raw. Tamina took on Alicia Fox. But that was pretty much it. We didn't get to hear anything about Eve, nothing. And, of course, for those of you that might have missed that headline, Caitlyn, she had got arrested on the spot at the Smackdown tapings last week in Michigan, as police had a warrant for her arrest for some unpaid parking tickets. Now, she later got out on a $315 bond. She released a statement to TMZ saying that she was being very cooperative, working with the authorities to resolve the matter. But what did I tell you guys last Saturday? I said, you know what? The fact that this happened on WWE's doorstep, don't be too surprised if they take some type of action on her, because when it's all said and done, this is an embarrassment that came right to their front door. And so many people were like, she's going to be featured in Endeavor. That's it for her. Her career's over. And so many people were like, seems like every time we get a wrestler in this type of spotlight, when the ball is given to them, they mess up and they get yanked off WWE programming. That's really not the case, and I'm going to let you know the reason why in just a little bit. But I told you guys, don't be too surprised if Caitlyn got pulled off of the programming, and sure enough, we don't see Caitlyn. And what's even more sadder as a result of that, now Eve is kind of left dangling in the wind there as WWE tries to scramble to try to figure out what they can do with her next. Bad timing, as Eve was really starting to gain that momentum there as that Divas champion, putting in some really great single competition matches. I mean, she was doing really phenomenal there. It could end in a way where WWE, they may decide to go with another diva. Who knows? But the fact that this happened at such a bad time, too, as it really was looking like Caitlyn was going to get the Divas title, as this storyline that she's been having of who attacked her and all of that, she's been having this thing with Eve. It goes as far back as September. Kind of hard to believe, but that's how long, that's when it had originally began. So really sad that, this came at a bad time right now, as everybody involved is affected by it. But, she's not going to be fired. She's going to have to eat a little bit of dirt for a little bit. Now, here's the thing that's interesting that I want to pick up on. We hear so many people sit up and say every single time a young person gets moved up to the WWE main programming and they get an opportunity to shine, they mess up. That's not exactly the case. And I'm going to let you guys know the reason why, in case you guys might not be aware of this. There is a wrestler that was working down in the NXT developmental program, and he goes by the name of Thomas Latimer, and he appears as Kenneth Cameron for the WWE's developmental program. He was arrested on Thanksgiving Eve down in Florida on charges of battery on a law enforcement officer and disorderly intoxication. He was then taken into custody by the county's sheriff's office, and he was released on a $5,000 bail with a battery charge costing $5,000 and disorderly intoxication charge costing him $100. Now, he was released from his contract from World Wrestling Entertainment shortly just after the arrest. So it just goes to show you that, all this talk about, every single time somebody moves up to main WWE programming has nothing to do with whether or not you're on main programming or not. If you're dysfunctional, if you don't have your things in order on your personal time, it's going to affect you whenever, wherever, and just what had happened right here with this young guy is a perfect example of that. Of course, we want to send a happy belated birthday wish to Brodus Clay Naomi dancer. Naomi, she just turned 25. Kind of funny when you think about that because, she had her little problems there a little while back, but, everything seems to be going pretty good now. Of course, as we had got into it briefly on the Tuesday Night Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show, there's the talk that it looks like Undertaker is going to be coming back to the WWE to work a main event match, and I didn't want to go into long details about this, long thoughts about this, because I wanted to cover what all had happened on Raw, but I did promise I was going to get into it on today's episode, and it's so funny because I've been writing a piece off and on, and I'm going to have it on our website in just a little bit, probably in a couple of hours. But I'm writing a piece right now why CM Punk should retain at the Royal Rumble, and it fits so perfectly with what's happening with The Undertaker right now. Now, let's be honest here. We got those core wrestling fans that sit up, and they probably heard, hey, Undertaker's going to be coming back, and, we try to keep it as clean and friendly as possible for everybody to check out the show. Unless it's after 12 o'clock at night, then, I'll throw some F-bombs, I'll swear and all that, but, given the time that we're on right now, I do agree with the comments that are made from a lot of the wrestling fans, and their choice of words is more stronger than what I got, which is Undertaker, he's too old, he's beaten down, he's past his point, he needs to sit up and just call it quits already. Here's a guy that just can't let it go. I agree with all of those things to a certain point. The main thing that I think many people forget is that Undertaker, he's very successful in his personal life. I mean, he is a bit of a self-entrepreneur, if you will. He really does not need the WWE. He is living a very good lifestyle right now. It is a lifestyle that many people wish that they could have, and he has a beautiful wife on top of that. He's trying to make babies with her. He's living a good life. Undertaker really doesn't need to come back to the WWE. What this is really about is Undertaker feeling like he wants to come back. And the whole thing that has been said about Undertaker since the beginning of the year, right after he was done with his match against Triple H at this past year's WrestleMania, okay, well, when is Undertaker going to be coming back next? And pretty much it was up to Undertaker. That's how much respect WWE has for him. It's all about whenever he wants to. If he wants to hang it up, hey, no, but there was no pressure. This is Undertaker on his own. He wants to. WWE, they reached out. He said, you know what, hey, yeah, I'm all for it. Let's do a main event match. Yeah, I'm ready. And so you hear that, and you're like, oh, man. Me, honestly, from a wrestling fan standpoint, I've loved Undertaker for many, many years. And to hear that he's going to be coming back, the only thing I have to say to that is if Undertaker's coming back make it count, okay? Make it count, because it's not going to really mean anything if he's just coming back and, you know, he can't deliver like he used to. And we know how Undertaker is. He's very hard on himself. We all have kind of grown up with the Undertaker. We know that this guy is going to put himself in a position where he's not going to be made to look embarrassed. He's going to always deliver the top-notch wrestling that we've come to expect, or close to that. And I'm just thinking about this, and, you know, we're just seeing what's happening with the WWE champion, CM Punk, right now. You know, you want to talk about streaks, you know, and if this goes down the way that it should, and I'm looking from a booking and a writing standpoint, it should end up being CM Punk taking on The Undertaker for the WWE title. It should be the streak versus the streak. Now, some of you may be hearing that, and you may be saying, well, Lee, what direction do you go on that note? If it was me personally, I would take the route of having Undertaker take his first loss at WrestleMania. And the reason why I'm going that route is because when it's all said and done, what's probably the one thing that The Undertaker has not done in his illustrious career in the WWE? He has not taken his first loss at WrestleMania. So, of all the times, maybe this could be it. Maybe Undertaker could finally get his first loss. And I know some people are hearing that. They probably are screaming right now, no, you can't give it to CM Punk. You know, Triple H, so close, no cigar. Shawn Michaels, so close, no cigar. Hey, a lot of people, they wanted to see Brock Lesnar take on Undertaker. Well, fortunately, Triple H got dibs on Brock Lesnar, so much for that. But if there was ever the right time, it would be at that respected WrestleMania, CM Punk going over Undertaker. The only way I could see Undertaker getting the title from CM Punk at WrestleMania would be if perhaps he was given, and you know, I know some people are like, well, why not put him under a Legends contract? Or Undertaker is going to make good money regardless. Undertaker sets his own schedule. Undertaker is one of those type of guys. He comes and goes as he pleases. And, you know, if you were listening a few seconds ago, Undertaker has that type of power where he pretty much calls WWE when he's ready to come back. It's not really the other way around, okay? He doesn't need them. He's just chilling, minding his own business. He's doing his thing, all right? He's relaxing. So WWE, they have high respect for The Undertaker like that. So, you know, this is really a case where Undertaker has to feel physically that he can do something on a part-time, or he could do something on a full-time basis. But it's going to be for him to decide. But the only way I see this whole title thing working out is if Punk drops it to The Undertaker. But then again, you know, Punk could get the belt right back at the next pay-per-view, but you know, what's the whole point if you're just going to give the belt back to Punk? But I think that would be interesting. Longest current reigning WWE champion taking on the streak of all streaks. Hey, it's got a nice little ring to it. I know it's a little bit of a ways away, but you know, it's kind of good to be talking about it now, kind of get those rough draft ideas put out there. You know, WrestleMania is just around the corner. And, hey, like we say, you know, WWE, they just reached out to The Undertaker this week. So, you know, whether some of us like it or not, we're going to be seeing Undertaker involved in some type of a main event caliber type of match. And quite honestly, you know, it is what it is. You know, some would ask, is there anybody that could truly step up to the task in taking on Undertaker and taking away the streak? And quite honestly, you know, if you don't go with CM Punk, then quite honestly, there's really nobody that you can go with if you're not going to go with CM Punk. So once again, the streak will just continue. My money, let CM Punk go over The Undertaker, makes his legitimacy as a champion look even more credible, as we have many that will argue, well, CM Punk, he really hasn't taken on that many people in his title reign so far. And there is some argument to that. I mean, when you go down the list, Chris Jericho, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, Alberto Del Rio, Ryback, that's pretty much occupied his calendar year. So, yeah, you put Undertaker on that list. That does look pretty damn credible, especially if you have Undertaker's name go side by side with The Rock. Very interesting right there. Hey, we'll be talking more about this right after the TLC because, we got to get ready for the Royal Rumble. But, hopefully you guys appreciate that little in-depth look that we did right there. I don't really like jumping too far ahead, but it's kind of nice to talk about stuff like that from time to time. Of course, I want to let you guys know a few little tidbits of wrestling-related news before we switch gears and we go talking about the very latest in entertainment. But Karma, a.k.a. Amazing Kong, real name Kia Stevens, she recently had finally broke her silence about her WWE release to one of my favorite websites, DivaDirt.com. And I want to read you some direct quotes. Of course, the full interview is up on their website. It's a really great listen, but this is the real heart of the matter. Now, here's what she had to say about being offered a job by WWE back in December of 2010. And this is a direct quote. I did not see it coming. I was actually about 14 days away from announcing my retirement in wrestling. I got a call I'll never forget. I was sick with a cold, and I got a call from Tommy Dreamer, and he asked if he could give my number to John Laurinaitis. And I said, yeah. 5 minutes later, I got a call from John Laurinaitis, who spoke with me and offered me a position at WWE. I don't think I closed my mouth for a good 20 days. Now, she would also talk about her WWE release. And again, quote, sometimes things aren't moving along as quickly as they need to be, and some things weren't progressing as quickly as they should have been. I think the release was actually good in a way and very appropriate. WWE, the world knows, they don't just hire anyone. If they hire you, they're going to invest in you. They're going to apply any and every resource that they have, anything that you're going through. So having said that, again, the timing was just there. My release was, in my opinion, appropriate. Now, for those of you that have been wondering for the longest time, ever since she was let go by the WWE, would she be making a return to TNA Wrestling? Here's what she had to say about that. Again, direct quote. I do appreciate the opportunities I was given by TNA, Dixie Carter, and Terry Taylor. I appreciate my time there. It was good until it wasn't. No. Whatsoever with them, I'm very grateful. They're the ones that introduced me to the U.S. market, but that time is gone. So on that note, take that news for what it's worth. It sounds like she's not going to be coming back to TNA Wrestling. And quite honestly, I think the route that she's taking now is really, really smart in a sense that she's just doing the independent scenes. Of course, if you had missed our coverage of her return to wrestling at the Shine 5 Wrestling pay-per-view, I highly recommend you go backtrack. I give you overall takeaway on how she was in that comeback match. But I think the independent route is what she's going to be doing from here on out, work her own schedule. You know, she's got so many different projects going on right now. I remember hearing rumblings that she was possibly going to be participating in some type of a reality show. So, I mean, she's dipping into quite a few different things that's going on. Of course, she's got that whole foundation that she's trying to get kicked up for making women be aware of stillborn babies, basically how to look for early signs, try to prevent it from happening, things of that nature. So she's dipping into quite a few different projects right now, but I think the independent route, it works the best for her. And, of course, if you missed our coverage of that Shine 5 pay-per-view, you know, great news from here on out. We're going to be covering Shine Wrestling pay-per-views, and their next one won't be happening until January 5th or 6th, I believe it is. We'll have a better, more accurate date as the time draws near, but their next event won't be happening until early January 2013. And, of course, we'll be covering that on a special episode of the RCWR Post Show. And we've already begun, talking to a few wrestlers from that promotion, so don't be too surprised if we might have a few of them stop by from time to time, talk about some of their matches they're going to be having. Really great stuff, though. I highly recommend you go check them out. Also, wrestling-related news-wise, I want to let you guys know, in case you might have missed it, we fortunately had the tragic passing of the Hollywood Blondes and Fabulous Freebirds, Buddy Roberts. He had passed away at the age of 65. Very unfortunate news right there. Of course, when I think about the Fabulous Freebirds, I always am thinking about how flamboyant and cocky Michael P.S. Hayes was, how he just had some of the greatest mic skills. I mean, I just thought he was a little bit better than Dusty Rhodes. That's just me. That's just my preference. But I loved Michael P.S. Hayes. Terry Gordy, big dude, always willing to sit up and just be a man's man, always willing to throw it down, being that big bodyguard type of guy. But when it came to Buddy Roberts was always the one to get his ass kicked. I mean, he was always willing to do all the dirty work that Gordy, Hayes were not willing to do. Roberts was always one of those guys that would take one for the team. That was the main gist I remember of him. And, it's so funny because, when I heard he had died, of course I was very sad. But I just started having fond memories of how it was to be watching him take on the Von Erichs. And, I ended up playing the Backstreet USA video that they had there. Real cheesy video, but some really classic stuff. But, of course, the family and friends of Buddy Roberts, you have our deepest thoughts. You have our prayers. You got our condolences during this difficult time right now. But Buddy Roberts passed away, 65 years old. WWE.com, they had announced it on Friday. It looks like he might have passed late Thursday night going into Friday. And, it's quite sad when you hear that somebody passed away in the wrestling community, especially one that made such a significant impact on the industry. At least he was able to get inducted with his Freebird brothers in time right before his passing. And, of course, when he had retired in the 90s, he had ended up having cancer in the throat, and he ended up needing to get surgery to remove it. And he was never the same after that. And it was very unfortunate because he ended up talking with a electronic box device to help him speak. And, it was just one of those moments that, he always looked back on all the way up to right when he died. He always thought that, smoking was wrong. If he could have rewinded back a little bit, he would have stopped. And, he always tried to encourage people to not smoke, try to quit, pay consequences later. So, other than that, other wrestling-related news that kind of jumped out there, we want to send a big congratulations to Miss Sarita, the lovely Sarita, who we have not seen in TNA wrestling for quite a long time. She recently is been doing some work down in Mexico, and she's being known as Dark Angel. Well, she recently won CMLL's annual female bodybuilding competition. And get this, she won it again for the 7th straight year in a row. The announcement was made this past Thursday in Mexico City. And if you haven't seen the picture, we'll be posting on our Facebook page shortly. I mean, she is just looking smoking hot with her physique right now. Looks really good. Other than that, that is pretty much going to do it for wrestling-related news that we've been able to gather up all for this week. We're going to go on ahead now. We're going to take a commercial break, but then when we come right back, we'll dive right into things go entertainment route now. We'll talk about what all has been happening since last we were on the air. I know I have some things I want to get off my chest about this whole Nicki Minaj, Steven Tyler thing. I'll try and make my thoughts about that. We'll also have a kick-ass review for the new DMC, Devil May Cry demo. Yours truly has been playing it all week. I'll tell you what I like about the game so far. And we also got a kick-ass review for Steven Adler's new album, Back from the Dead. I will give you the final verdict on that. I know some of you that listened to the weekend edition last week, you were a little bit sad when you walked away because you really were hoping I was going to give you some really good picks to go check out. Well, I think I might be redeeming myself pretty good with this latest review. So we'll dive into all of those good things coming up next on the RCWR Show Weekend Edition. We'll take that brief commercial break, and then when we come right back, folks, we'll go on ahead and we'll jump all into it. So we'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the RCWR Show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about one or two quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is the app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have two cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
All right, and we are back. You're listening to the RCWR Show. Black Avenger, as always. Lee Sanders here. Hey, I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. You know, before we forget, we want to take this time out to thank you, the listeners. That's right, you that's checking out the Weekend Edition live. Those of you that check it out on the downloads, hey, we humbly appreciate you. You know, last week, you have made our Weekend Edition be one of the most popular episodes that we've been putting out on the weekends, and we really appreciate that gesture. Really appreciate you all that had checked it out last week, and hey, you know, that's why in a large part, you know, we had decided that we were just going to go on ahead and just remove taking phone calls from the Saturday show because, you know, we do cover a lot of great content, and, you know, when you really think about it, you know, we love hearing from callers, especially first-time callers. But, you know, for me, it was an easy choice to make because, I'm thinking of you guys that's listening to the shows, whether it be live or you're listening to the shows on the downloads. And, I don't want you guys to kind of always feel as though, we're hearing the same two callers always calling in. How about we switch it up a little bit, or just have the content just be covered, and, we can deal with the calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I was actually kind of thinking about you guys in the decision to just have the phone calls be removed for the Saturday weekend editions, because when you think about it, especially if you haven't got caught up on what all you might have missed in the weekend wrestling, it's one of those type of scenarios where, it really doesn't make sense to open up the phone lines when we've already had people give their comments on what they thought about Raw, Impact, Smackdown from Tuesday and Thursday, and Saturday is pretty much just about rehashing stuff, but also putting in some new stuff that's in there. And I just want to make sure that you guys are able to walk away with a lot more content being covered. Now, unfortunately, some people, they may not like that, and they may say to themselves, well, since, I'm not able to call into the show, what's the point of checking it out? Well, you check out the show if you like the show and you like the way that we cover it and you think we're pretty insightful. You don't just call into the show just to have yourself be on the air. And, my greatest advice is always, if you're kind of at that point where you kind of like hearing your own voice on the air and all that other stuff, then, I don't know, maybe you kind of need to get your own show. But, then we have some people that just genuinely, from what I'm able to hear, we have people that genuinely like to just kick back and they like to chat with me. And I'm all for chatting. I love chatting it up. I can talk a storm with about random people. But, Saturdays, that's what we're going to be doing now. Just can't stress that enough. I'm not going to be bringing it up again, but I just thought I'd really go into a little bit more detail about it, because we had a few people that were like, hey, how come you're not opening up the phone lines on Saturdays anymore? And, well, now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Yeah. So let's talk about the very latest in what all has been happening in entertainment news. And I want to kick things off by talking about what's been happening with this whole Menage a Trois, what's her name? Mickey Minaj, Millie Vanilli Minaj, whatever the hell her name is, Neela Cookies, whatever. She basically called Steven Tyler racist because Steven Tyler said that if Bob Dylan, the great Bob Dylan at that, were to pop up on an episode of American Idol, that she would probably vote him off. And Nicki Minaj just took that as a sign that Tyler was being racist, and that basically because she's black, she's a rapper, that she doesn't know anything about that type of music. And she took really great offense to that, and Steven Tyler went on to say that he's not a racist, that his words were misconstrued, and he tried to apologize to Nikki, and Nikki just firing back and basically just telling him to mind his business, shut up. And so funny because, Steven Tyler, he exit American Idol, Nicki Minaj, she comes in, and, she's just creating all this buzz, and, it's quite silly when I hear it. And I'm sorry, in no shape or form do I think Steven Tyler, the guys in Aerosmith, I don't think of them as being racist. If those guys really were racist, I mean, know your history, honey, before you sit up and you open your mouth and you call people racist. Steven Tyler, Aerosmith, they hooked up with one of the most famous acts in music history to create a mega hit single that to this day is still a freaking classic. Of course, I'm talking about their collaboration with Run DMC, who is a black trio, Walk This Way. And I mean, if it wasn't for Run DMC and even the guys from Aerosmith went on record and said this on a episode of VH1 Behind the Music. I remember this episode. I remember when it had first aired several years back. That's how fresh it is still in my mind. I remember them basically saying, they were at a point in their career where, they had hit a really major slump, and they came kind of close there to kind of calling it quits and, Then you had Rick Rubin step in, and he wanted to take that Walk This Way song, do a little remixing of it. Next thing you know, you have that collaboration. Boom, the rest is history. Aerosmith is introduced to a new generation, and it just creates a whole domino effect. Aerosmith back on the saddle again. So, this talk about them being racist, even Tyler and specifically being racist, I'm not buying that. Nicki Minaj, shut up. That's my message to you, honey. All right. Of course, we got some Chris Brown news. Chris Brown, God, probably one of the worst pieces of trash that's walking around God's green earth right now. Looks like, unfortunately, he had escaped the court system as criminal charges were not filed against him. Judge ruled that, hey, no, throw it out. We're done here. Remember, back in February, Chris Brown was leaving a Miami club, and a woman had came up to him and tried to take his picture with her cell phone. Well, he grabbed that cell phone and he threw it somewhere, and she tried to sue him and press charges and all that, but didn't happen. If he didn't want his picture taken, I just don't understand why he just didn't sit up and say, please, I don't want my picture taken. I don't get that, but here's a guy right here that has some serious anger management issues. The guy really needs some help. All right, I got some Led Zeppelin news for you guys. Hey, you want to make sure that you're watching the Late Show with David Letterman, as on the December 3rd show, surviving members John Paul Jones, Jimmy Page, and Robert Plant, they're going to be visiting David Letterman, who's going to be having his show in the D.C. area all that week. Now, it's not known if Led Zeppelin is going to be performing on the show, but it's really good that this is going to be happening because the surviving members, as well as David Letterman, they all are going to be honored as this year's Kennedy Center honors, which takes place just a day prior. So remember to have your DVR set and make sure that you check that episode out. It should be pretty good. It should be something monumental right there. Of course, we got some Steven Adler news for you guys, and it fits so perfectly into the album review that we're about to do next. Steven Adler, for the longest time, he had been wanting to have Guns N' Roses bury the hatchet, reform, and hit the road again, but seems like all the key members needed just were not coming together there. In particular, you got to have Axl Rose. Just wasn't happening. And, of course, the snub that Axl Rose had gave at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony, that really had pissed off Steven Adler, and he just was like, you know what, I'm so done with Axl now, forget it, okay, I need to move on with my life. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, if y'all remember seeing him on Celebrity Rehab and Sober House, you guys know that guy was really struggling. I mean, he was like that Megadeth song, Creeping Death. I mean, he was really knocking on that damn door, and it came very close, You just think about that cast that you had, and, you had not Mike Enos, but you had Mike Starr, the original bass player for Alice in Chains. You had him thrown into that mix. You're looking at these two guys, and you're saying to yourself, damn, which one of these two guys is going to go out first? Your money was more on Steven Adler, and unfortunately it actually ended up being Mike Starr. But you just remember the difficult journey that he had on those shows, and you just hear how he's just been able to just turn his life around, 47 years old, and, he's finally gotten past the whole notion that Guns N' Roses, they're probably not going to reform, and he's just moving on with the next stage of his life. He's got his own band, and they've been putting out some really great music. He's really at a better place right now in his musical career, and we got to talk about that album, Back from the Dead, 40 minutes of kick-ass music. Guys, I love this album. I can't stress it enough. This is an album that you rock heads, you've been waiting for patiently. You got to check this album out. You'll really love it. The tracks that really stand out in my mind, it's really so hard to choose because they're all so damn good. But I love the opening track, Back from the Dead. Of course, I love the track Good to Be Bad. That's good. Most standout track, though, is Just Don't Ask, as Slash is actually loaning his talents on that track, and I'm just really loving that. But this is a total kick-ass album. You want to check this out. Now, right now, it's available in the iTunes store. It was released through New Ocean Media. That's the record label. And, originally, it looks as if maybe you might have been able to buy this new album on their website, alderrocks.com, but it looks like the website has been having a little bit of problems. So right now, as far as I'm able to tell, this album is only available through the iTunes store. So check it out. You just type in Steven and his last name, which is spelled Adler, and you'll be able to find it that way. But really kick-ass album. It's a really nice throwback, and it's exactly how rock music should sound like. Really great comeback album from this guy. Out of 10 stars, I got to give this album, I got to give it a 9 out of 10. My biggest complaint was that I just wasn't getting enough of this. 40 minutes just felt like it went by so damn fast. But check this out. Really great stuff right here. You'll thank me later. All right. Other than that, it looks like Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails looks like he's going to be teaming up with the road director, John Hillcoat, for How to Destroy Angels' new video, Ice Age. And video looks pretty good. Now, for that song, Ice Age, that's actually a cut from the Omen EP. And the video, it looks pretty stunning. It's basically set in a lonely type of atmosphere, flashlights, and looks like the band is in some type of a cabin or something like that. It looks really wicked. I want you guys to check it out. We'll be posting that up on our Facebook page very shortly, but you can just Google it if you can't wait. It's some really kick-ass stuff right there. All right, let's talk about the Devil May Cry video game that, man, I have been playing this all week. It is a really great demo, and, some would look at this and they would say, Devil May Cry 5? Yeah, you could probably maybe call it that or whatever your cup of tea is, but this game for you guys, it's going to be coming out everywhere on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 on January 15th. 2013. Everybody else, you're going to be getting it a day, 2 days later. And right now, the basic plot of this game, it's, of course, taking place in a parallel universe in the Devil May Cry series. Should also be pointed out, you're going to be playing with a younger Dante as he has black hair. But the cool thing about this, when you go into beast mode, you see little hints of the old Dante as we've come to know and love. You'll see the white-haired one very briefly while you're in beast mode, but so far the plot looks like it's revolving around Dante, who's recovering from a hangover when he's attacked by a hunter demon. Dante learns that he's in Limbo City, which is a dreary city that looks kind of nice and peaceful at first, but then it turns into this weird paradox world filled with demons and other stuff that's just basically out to kill him whenever he's seen by demons. And after being confronted by a demon, Dante meets this girl by the name of Kat, and she takes him to meet the leader of the Order, which is an organization that's labeled by the press as a terrorist. And the Order, they basically are trying to get Dante's help in taking on Limbo's demons and its leader. They try to convince Dante to join them, and that's pretty much where all the fun happens. And this was a really kick-ass demo that I had got my hands on. One of my favorite parts was the boss battle. I always forget the name of the boss, but nice little exchange of words between Dante and the boss. The boss just looks so freaking ugly. It looks like the insides of your stomach, and it's just this weird, ugly piece of organ just dangling. That's exactly what it looks like, and I wish I could play some of the dialogue for you guys, but I didn't want to get into any copyright trouble. But the exchange that Dante has with this boss is just really funny. He's like, "Hey, I'm Dante," and the creature's like, "Dante? You're Dante? You're no, so-and-so?" And Dante's like, "Yeah, I'm that Dante, and I'm here to kick your ass. And by the way, you effing stank." And the creature's like, "F you." Dante's like, "No, F you." And they just keep going back and forth, and then you just do the boss fight. I have not been able to figure out how to kill the creature yet. I mean, it's really hard. You got to do some weird stuff, but the control scheme, it's exactly how you would remember playing it on PlayStation. I know it migrated eventually over to Xbox. Hey, the control schemes are still intact. You know, the hacking and the slashing is just the way you remember it. Of course, you got to do those silly, ridiculous button combinations. The whole grading system is back in full effect. You guys that are DMC veterans, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You do those long string of attacks, you string them together, you keep that flow going, and you get that rank moving up from a F to a D, to a C, to a B, to a A, to that powerful S rank. And as y'all know, you get that S rank, keep it for a good majority of that level. You know that goes good because you get to unlock some really cool goodies there, as always. Being released by Capcom, really beautiful game, visually very stunning. They're running off of the Unreal Engine 3. I just really love how this game is looking right now. Best part I love about this, no multiplayer. Just in case you're wondering, no, there is no multiplayer. Single player. Rejoice, folks. So check that out. Really great demo. It's available now in the Xbox Marketplace and the PlayStation Store. And again, the full game will be released on January 15th in North America, Europe as well. Japan, y'all won't be getting that until January 17th. You know, before we go off the air, I want to just let you guys know one of the biggest movie releases is about to happen this Tuesday, and you still have time to take advantage of a really great discount that's happening right now. Of course, I'm talking about the release of The Dark Knight Rises. Now, there is a really kick-ass box set that has all three of these, and you can get it for Blu-ray. Folks, it's a real steal. You can get it right now by pre-ordering it on Amazon. Forget this, folks. $29. And get this, 9 times out of 10, the shipping is probably going to be free. That's the best part. So you're probably just going to end up paying about, maybe after taxes, maybe about $32, $33, give or take. Still pretty damn good, as the regular value that, regular price tag that it's going to be going for is going to be $55. And what makes this trilogy box set kick-ass, you get all three movies, bonus features, you get a look at the Batmobiles. I mean, you're going to get hours and hours worth of bonus content. Comes in a really nice box set. You get some really nice booklets, all that cool stuff. Really great grab for you lovely ladies out there. You know what your comic book guys love. They'll appreciate this. For you guys out there, you've been a little bit hesitant for a while. You've been trying to figure out if you should just go on ahead and buy the trilogy on Blu-ray. Hey, if you got a Blu-ray player, you got $29 you can blow. Go for it now. You can check it out on Amazon. If you go to our website over at InfinityOneProductions.com, we actually have the link that's there that'll take you directly to our little store that we have up on there. You can actually buy it through us, save you a little bit more change, possibly. And, check it out, though. I mean, I can't stress it enough. Really great freaking box set. It's not every day you can get something like that. And from what I was able to gather, the piece about the whole Batmobiles and all that, that's not going to be coming out separately on its own at least for another year. So you're really getting a hell of a steal right here. So make sure that you go check that out. One other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is available on sale for this week only in the Xbox 360 marketplaces. I'm not sure what's going on the PlayStation side. I'm not a PlayStation guy, but for you Xbox 360 gamers out there, there's a really good steal that's in the marketplace right now, and it's Grand Theft Auto 4. You can now download and buy the whole video game for this week only for just $10. You heard me correctly. You can now get Grand Theft Auto from the Xbox 360 Live Marketplace. Whole game, folks, about 6 gigabytes plus, for just $9. Now, there's some cool bonus content that you can check out as well that has been reduced by half. The Ballad of Gay Tony, you can get that for $400. All the other little campaigns, you can get those for $400 as well. Take advantage now, because once this week is over, everything's going to go back up. That downloadable content, each one of those, that's going to be at least $800 plus itself. So get on top of that while you can. Really great steal right there. I definitely wanted to mention that, guys, to you before we go off the air. And that is pretty much going to do it, folks. We covered a lot of great stuff today. Really hope you guys had enjoyed the show. So, as we said, next 2 weeks worth of episodes that's going to be coming up. We're going to be making way for our Call That Match series. So next Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be getting you guys ready for the TNA Final Resolution pay-per-view. I'll be offering match predictions. And then the Saturday after that, we'll be covering match predictions for WWE's Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view. So make sure that you check those out. The weekend edition of the RCWR show will be coming back, and it'll be coming back in great effect. Let me give you guys the exact date for when you guys will be able to check that out, as we got some pretty important milestones that's going to be coming up. So it looks like by my notes here, the RCWR show weekend edition will be back in full effect on December 22nd, and you want to make sure you check that episode out, as we're going to be taking a look back in TNA for this calendar year. I'll honestly let you guys know what worked, what didn't work, what we can take going into 2013, and we'll also announce the winner for TNA Wrestler of the Year. So you want to make sure that you check that out. And if you haven't cast your votes yet, you still have time to do so. Voting will be open all the way up until December 22nd. You'll be able to pick, respectively, the TNA Wrestler of the Year and the WWE Wrestler of the Year. So again, if you haven't cast your votes yet, vote now. You can head on over to our website at infinityOneProductions.com and cast your votes. And again, we'll reveal the winner for TNA. That'll be beginning on December 22nd. But we got a lot of great shows planned for December. We're going to be doing some unprecedented stuff. I would tell you guys right now, but it's too much information to cram in. But we'll let you know as the weeks progress. But we got some really great shows that's going to be lined up as we are making our way going into 2013. But in the meantime, folks, the talk of wrestling doesn't end here. Be sure to check out our website at InfinityOneProductions.com for all the very latest and wrestling-related news, so much more. Also, be sure to check us out in the iTunes and Zune marketplaces using the keywords the RCWR show. And hey, always follow us on Twitter at InfinityOneProd for our latest tweet updates, and like us on Facebook at InfinityOneProductions.com. I hope all you guys have a pretty kick-ass weekend. Till we hear from you guys this Tuesday night for the Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show. I'm, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. You all be safe and be kind to one another, folks. Show off.